Everybody, it's Dan here for MTG Tavern. Today I'm really excited because I'm going to get to play some Living End on the channel. I love Living End, it's by far my favourite deck in Modern. So before I go ahead and do this really weird build of Living End deck tech, let's go and do a quick intro. So this version of Living End, this reasonably weird version of Living End, was brought to us by a guy called Jundillions, who is a Japanese MTGO player. He's a Living End specialist, quite a good player. He took it to an 8-0 finish in a Modern Challenge. If we take a look at this blue-white list right here, we have Jace the Mind Sculptor legal in Modern. So this was a Modern Challenge where Jace and Bloodbraid Elf were legal in the format, and this guy took it to an 8-0 finish. And I'm just really intrigued about how he went about building this version of the deck and what it's trying to do. So what's really weird about this deck? I mean, most people who don't play Living End a lot or haven't played against it a lot may be thinking, well, you know, you got Cyclers, you got Violent Outburst, Monk Dread, Fulminator Mages, and Living End. That seems like a pretty normal Living End deck to me. And it is, the basic strategy is the same. But there are a few changes to the numbers of certain cards in the deck that really transform how the deck prioritizes its A game of cascading into Living End and its B game of hard casting its creatures. So first up, we've got 2 copies of Living End, and this is pretty unusual. Most Living End decks, in fact, I've never seen a Living End deck play less than 3 copies of Living End, because it's really risky if you run less than 3 copies. Every other game, pretty much, like, if I was to play 2 games, I would almost guarantee that one of those games, at least, I will draw a copy of Living End, because you're cycling that much, you're drawing a lot of cards. Now, Living End is one of those decks where you don't want to draw the namesake card of the deck. You do not want Living End in your hand or in the graveyard, you want it in the library. Very occasionally, if I was to play an F&M, probably play 8 games across an F&M, I'd say at least one of those games, I'll probably draw 2 Living Ends in the same game. It happens because, again, you're drawing that many cards. If you just happen to have 2 of your 3 Living Ends near the top of the deck, you're going to draw them. The problem there is that when you draw your second Living End, you're all in on your 3rd copy. So you can't draw your 3rd copy. If you Violent Outburst or Demonic Dread into your 3rd copy, you need to make sure it resolves. So if you're playing against blue, you need to make sure that it actually resolves and they don't counter the Living End. If it does resolve, you need to make sure you've got a graveyard. So if your opponent's got any graveyard hate out, then you can't cast your Living End until you make sure you get rid of that graveyard hate. And even if you don't have a graveyard hate, it does resolve, and you get all your creatures back. You then need to make sure that you can actually win the game with that final copy of Living End, otherwise your A game is gone. So basically, running 1 less Living End means that you're taking that risk of drawing 2 Living Ends, and instead it's even more risky because if you draw 1 copy of Living End, you're now all in on your 2nd copy. Now I can think of 2 major advantages of having 2 Living Ends in the deck rather than 3. The first one being that sometimes when you play Living End, you don't find your Cascade spells, but you get yourself to 5 or 6 mana, and you can start hard casting your creatures. Well, if you're top decking one of your 3 Living Ends, like the normal build, then that's not really a very good top deck. However, what you can do is top deck a creature, so we're playing 1 more creature in the deck, and we can just hard cast that instead. So we don't have to Living End, we can just hard cast our creatures. And this is even more important after sideboarding, so say you're playing against blue-white control, they play a turn 2 Rest in Peace. Your Living End plan is pretty much offline at that point. So again, you're quite happy just hard casting your creatures. So less copies of Living End means that, yes, it's less consistent in your A game, but it strengthens your B game, and that you can start hard casting your creatures and be slightly more consistent with hard casting your creatures. Now there are 2 other really big changes with the deck and a few smaller changes. So first up, we've got 4 copies of Archfiend of Ifnir and 4 copies of Fairy Macabre. Now we'll start with Fairy Macabre. If you look at the sideboard, there's no graveyard hate in there whatsoever. Instead, this Jundillion guy is putting 4 Fairy Macabres in the main. Now I've never seen this. Usually you play 2 Fairy Macabres in the main, or maybe 2 in the sideboard, and then you play X amount of Leyline of the Voids. But if you think about it, Dredge it's not completely gone from the format, but it's certainly nowhere near as big as it was. And Fairy Macabre does a good enough job against most decks that do use their graveyard in some kind of way, to the point where it's good enough graveyard hate. So if you think about Snapcaster Mage, Lingering Souls, Tarmogoyf, Fairy Macabre does a good enough job at shrinking those cards down and reducing their effectiveness. Then also, if you pair it alongside of Archfiend of Ifnir, which is also a 4-off in the deck, which is pretty unusual, and you pair it alongside Horror of the Broken Lands, then cycling your Fairy Macabres, even in dead matchups, means it can utilize the Archfiend, utilize the Horror of the Broken Lands to maximum effectiveness without actually using your mana. It's also a case of Fairy Macabre, if it is in a dead matchup, it's the easiest card to just sideboard out. Say you're playing against Tron, get the Fairy Macabres out, bring in the artifact destruction and the land hate, it's a nice, easy swap there. It makes sideboarding a lot easier. Moving on to the Archfiend of Ifnir, like we say, it goes really well with the Fairy Macabres. The problem with Archfiend of Ifnir as a 4-of in the main usually is that it's quite a clunky card to cycle. So even though it's by far the best creature in the deck, especially against decks like Affinity or, I don't know, Infect or something like that, cycling it and getting it into your graveyard costs you 2 mana rather than just 1 mana. So if you look at Horror of the Broken Lands, Monstrous Carabid, Desert Ceradon, they all cycle for just 1 mana. So you're using your mana extremely efficiently to draw a card and put a creature into the graveyard. With Archfiend of Ifnir, you're being half as efficient because you're cycling 1 creature and drawing 1 card rather than cycling 2 creatures and drawing 2 cards. However, like we say, the benefit of Archfiend of Ifnir is not only is it the best creature to have on the battlefield when you do finally resolve your living end, it's quite a big creature to top deck later on. And if you remember, by reducing our living ends to 2, we're quite happy improving our plan B and sacrificing a bit of our plan A. So having a 5/4 fly that can shrink your opponent's team for 5 mana is not a bad card to top deck. Now, there's 2 other changes that Jundillion has made to the deck, one that I agree with and one that I don't. So the one that I agree with is that there's 2 copies of Simian Spirit Guide over the 3. This deck doesn't have to have Simian Spirit Guide. It's nice to get a turn 2 Fulminator Mage against Tron. It's nice to be able to cascade on my opponent's end step on turn 2 if we're playing against blue, for example, and we can put a couple of creatures in play. But overall, we don't need to have all the copies of Simian Spirit Guide in the world. And remember, we're less on our explosive Violent Outburst plan, and we're kind of beefing up our plan B, so we don't need to have that 3rd copy. The thing I really don't agree with, though, is he's putting 2 Blooming Marsh in the deck and no copies of Overgrown Tomb. Now, we are playing 4 fetch lands, so it would be nice to just fetch up Overgrown Tomb if we need to. And the opportunity cost of Blooming Marsh being better than Overgrown Tomb is limited to the first 3 turns, so I just think it's probably worth just having the copy of Overgrown Tomb over the 2nd copy of Blooming Marsh. So our sideboard hate is now greatly improved because we put our Fairy Macabres into the main, so we don't need to dedicate Graveyard Hate in the sideboard. So then we have a lot more sideboard Silver Bullets for certain matchups, whereas previously we would have maybe a card for Burn, a card for Tron, a card for Blue Control. We now have 2 or 3 cards, so it improves our sideboard plan a huge amount. So we've got 2 Colligan's Commands. I guess it's not a Silver Bullet for certain matchups, but it's kind of a nice utility card that it's usually good against most decks. 2 Ricochet Traps there to deal with blue-based decks, make sure we can resolve our living ends or resolve our creatures later on in the game. 2 Avalanche Riders there for the Tron and the Scapeshift matchup, greatly improve our land destruction spells. 2 Ingot Chewers there to back up our Artifact Hate alongside the Colligan's Commands. 4 Shriekmaws, I assume mainly there for the humans matchups, because humans can be quite a big problem for living end because Meddling Mage, they name living end, we can't living end. Thalia means that living end costs 5 mana in total to cast, not 3, so yeah, Shriekmaw is a nice 2 mana efficient way of just removing creatures that we just do not want on the battlefield. And then 3 copies of Thragtusk. I originally thought this was here for Burn, and I was thinking, well, this is actually pretty bad against Burn. But I kind of thought about it a bit more, and it's there for the mid-range matchup. So we play against Jund, we play against Abzan, where our living end plan isn't likely, we're going to our plan B. Well, I'd rather be top-decking Thragtusks over Monstrous Carabids or Desert Ceradons, because they're just great creatures to cast for 5 mana. If your opponent has a removal spell, we get a 3/3 out of the deal. We gain 5 life, we get a card out of their hand. So anyway, that's the Living End deck tech. I'm going to be playing this card for today, seeing how it goes, and hopefully we can see what these Thragtusks are about in the sideboard. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed the deck tech. It was a bit of an unusual one, but this is a bit of an unusual deck, and I'll see you in the games. Okay, so we're here for our first game of the Living End League, and we start with 2 Living Ends in our hand, which means there's none in our deck, so this is probably a mulligan. To be fair, if we did have 3 Living Ends, we would probably still mulligan this hand anyway. I'm really not convinced by just 2 Living Ends. I think it's so risky. Let's just say this 1 Living End here was a Cycler. I still couldn't keep the hand, because I've got 1 Living End left, so we'll mulligan, and this is so much better. Cyclers, payoff card, another Cycler on top, and our lands. So I'm guessing our opponent is on Dredge by the look of it. We'll play a Blacklead Cliffs, pass to our opponent. Are they on Dredge? What are they on? Explore? Okay. What are they playing? I'm intrigued. This isn't Valakut, because Valakut would not be playing Copperline Gorges. Unless they're playing the enchantment, which gives all of your lands that they are also every land type as well. I forgot what it's called. It's the green enchantment. Okay, well, let's cycle out Desert Ceradon. There's a Fairy Macabre. Not really what we're looking for. A Street Wraith. Okay, well, we're still on for our turn 3 Violent Outburst, and we're going to be able to cycle a lot of creatures this turn. Is our opponent on Valakut? I guess they could be. Another Explore. I'm intrigued. I really am. Hopefully they're not playing something like Land Destruction. That would be really horrible for us in this position. Maybe it is like a Scape Shift deck. Maybe. What is going on? Whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, you may put a counter on this. Oh, so you can just go search for lands. Okay, so it must be like a Valakut deck, right? Okay, well, we'll cycle. Oh, no! Poor play by me. You should always tap your non-black source of mana just in case you do draw a black-based cycler. Okay, well, never mind. There's a Demonic Dread. That's not going to change much. So, we have 6, 12, 16 power in the graveyard at the minute. We have another Violent Outburst. Okay, well, we're definitely going to be casting Living End next turn. We know that much. We just want to see what our opponent's doing. Like, are they going to be playing Escape Shift or something? I don't think Escape Shift on 5 does anything. Okay, we are going to Violent Outburst in response to this. There's another horror. Unfortunately, that's not going to be good enough. Right, so the reason we're going to Violent Outburst in response is because our opponent gets to sacrifice the Secure Tribe Elder in response to a Living End. The Secure Tribe Elder goes to the graveyard and then it comes back. So that's the reason we're casting Living End right now. So they would get 2 lands off the Secure Tribe Elder, not just 1. Maybe I should have... Oh my god, what am I doing? I have the Fairy Macabre in hand. I'm such a fucking moron. Okay. There's a land trigger for the Heart Expedition. How many does it need? 3 counters, okay. Can't believe I just did that. I've got a Fairy Macabre in my hand. Another Elder. Okay, do we have lethal? 6, 12, 15, 90. Oh, no. If we draw an untapped red or green mana, we have lethal because we can Demonic Dread the Secure Tribe Elder and they don't gain a life. Yet, I think... Oh, we actually know we have a Violent Outburst. What am I talking about? We do have lethal. Oh, we have the land anyway, so... Let's just fetch. Let's just confirm. So, we'll get a Stomping Ground, I guess. So let's just confirm. Our opponent, they block the 6/4, they take 10, 13. Oh no, the Violent Outburst isn't lethal, of course it isn't. So we were lucky to draw the land off the top there. Again, let's just confirm. If this isn't lethal, I don't know if it's really worth it. 6, 12, 16, 19. Yeah, we have Exacxes, okay. And because they're not going to gain a life off of the Grove of the Burn Willows, then we will say no. Yeah, because they're not going to gain a life off the Grove of the Burn Willows, then that is exactly 19. They don't gain a life. So we got there. Okay. Not too sure if it's normal for a Valakut deck to be playing Grove of the Burn Willows, but I'm intrigued. So what are we doing in this matchup? They're going to be bringing in Graveyard Hate in the form of artifacts. So the Colligon's commands and the Ingot Chewers come in. Probably going to keep in a couple of Fairy Macabres. I don't think Shriek Maws are worth it, because it kills maybe a... It can kill like a Titan, but they've already used it to go and get lands, and we can just find an Outburst to get rid of it from that respect. I don't think Thrag Tusks are worth it. It may be worth it if they're bringing in Graveyard Hate to just bring in a couple so we have something for our late game. And maybe go down to Demonic Dread. Do we want these Avalanche Riders just to increase our land hate? I don't think we do, because our opponent's just playing that many lands and they can just top deck so many lands that... I guess they're probably better than Archfiends, because Archfiends don't actually do anything other than fly over. So one more card to get rid of. Maybe we'll just go down to just one Fairy Macabre. It's only against the Secure Tribe Elder where they're useful. And I think we keep this hand. We've got a payoff card, we've got Cycler, we've got some land destruction, though I'd prefer it to be a Fulminator Mage, but you live and learn. So our opponent has no turn 1 play. I'm really intrigued about what their deck even is. There is a Ingot Chewer. So I think we are just going to play the Blooming Marsh untapped for now. We would like one more land so we can start hard casting our creatures later, I guess, but it's not the end of the world if we do. Okay, they're going to explore. Play another land. There's the Valakut. Okay, so Avalanche Riders is there to take that out when we need to. It's just a matter of whether we're going to get enough time to actually cast it. Oh, there's a Fulminator Mage, never mind. Okay, so now we just need to survive one more turn. What are we doing this turn? We're probably just cycling Archfiend right at best, so I don't want to take 2 damage, because then you don't want to go down to, I believe it's 18 life, where Valakut can, they need, I think it's 6 lands rather than 7, or 5 instead of 6. Yeah, there's a Tribe Elder, okay. Just going to sacrifice that now. Okay, we're still going to cycle on end step. I think if we were on the play in this game, we would be pretty close to just having the win. There's another Violent Outburst, so we can do a lot of damage to our opponent as far as Fulminator Mages go. So we are scared of Scape Shift, so maybe we just play the Fulminator Mage still and take out that Stomping Ground. I believe Scape Shift is it a 4-mana double green spell? We're not going to shock ourselves. Yeah, play the Mage. Take out the Stomping Ground. Pass to our opponent. So they're on pure red at the minute. So they do find another green source. That's unfortunate. They just do nothing. Oh, they have Through the Breach. Wow, we should have held up per Violent Outburst. Okay, well now we know what our opponent's... Oh, okay, well that's not scary. Oh wait, maybe it is. Maybe it is. Okay, so that's 3, 6. They'll attack, get another 2, 12. We're not just dead. Somehow we are not just dead. Yeah, we take 6. We take 6 from the lands. And we're going to take 6. We're going to be alive on 1. And we can get rid of their Valakut next turn as well. And we'll be able to present a 2-turn clock, I believe. So, yeah, okay. We'll have to see what the last card is, I guess, but sure. Now, here's a question for you. Do we Avalanche Riders and take away that Violent Outburst, the Valakut? Just because then any land isn't lethal off the top, they need to have something in hand to actually deal 1 damage to us. We can just cycle this Monstrous Carabid as well. I guess we could just Avalanche Riders next turn if they do find another Valakut. So that's probably just a bad idea. I think, yeah, we're just going to... We'll cycle the Monstrous Carabid. I probably should have done this first. See if we can find a different mana source other than Grove. Another Violent Outburst. Okay, well, we're going to main phase this. They're going to gain life. Oh, wait. I've done that wrong. Give them a life. Tap for green. Tap for colourless. Violent Outburst. So this is all for nothing. If my opponent has like a lightning bolt, then it just doesn't matter. Oh wait, I'm such a fucking moron. They get the Primeval Titan back. 1 second. I don't think I played this very smart. I think I played like a fucking idiot, in fact. So yeah, we'll just concede. Oh my god, I'm such a moron. Okay, well at least we know what my opponent's on now, like what we can have to play around. That was not my best idea ever. That was rather stupid, in fact. We'll bring in another Fairy Macabre, and that was really stupid. I look like a fucking idiot. Okay. Okay, sure. I think we'll go down to Colligan's command for that Fairy Macabre. Yeah. So, I look like a complete retard now, and maybe I just am a retard. So we'll go first, and yeah, I'm keeping this hand. There's no way I can't keep this, right? Fulminator Mage, plenty of lands, a couple of Cyclers, sure. I'm sold. Okay, we'll just go land pass to my opponent. Copperline Gorge. They will... No! I should have cycled. I pressed F6. I am tilted, right? Just massively tilted. We'll pass our opponent still. It doesn't change a huge amount because we drew a land anyway, so... Like, it means potentially one less cycler going to the graveyard, but we're still going to be turn 3 Fulminator Maging, so from that point of view, it doesn't make a huge amount of difference. Hopefully. The High Expedition, okay. So I'm going to go and fetch a basic Swamp. Don't want to deal too much damage to ourselves. So we cycle. Okay, that's a good draw. There's a Fairy Macabre, not a terrible draw. So we'll go Fulminator Mage. Take away your land. And pass to you. Then we have another Fulminator Mage if you play another untapped. Another Stomping Ground, yep. And we're going to be able to take out another land next turn, hopefully. What do they have? An Explorer or something like that? The Tribe Elder, okay. They're going to search now, and they're going to get to search for 2 basics, right? Yep. So our Fulminator Mages have done the best they can. Unfortunately, it's probably not going to be good enough. Oh, Thragtusk is nice. So let's just go for our Fulminator Mage. These come out untapped. Tapped, okay. We need to find a Cascade spell, though. That's the problem. This is all for nothing. Like, if our opponent has Through the Breach, then we're in trouble. Wait, does this have to have 3 counters? Oh, it's 3 quest counters, okay. My mistake. Farseek, okay, so they're going to have all the lands in the world next turn. We need to find a Cascade spell. Ideally a Violent Outburst. I actually don't like this version of... Oh my god, what a top deck that is. Wow. Okay. That is a hell of a top deck for our opponent. I guess they may have had it for quite a while, but they were playing a dangerous game if they left it that long. Okay, well thank God we have this Frag Tusk in our hand, so we have a backup plan of some kind. Yeah, hell of a good top deck for our opponent there. We should play this tapped. Horror, okay, well, at least we can start casting our creatures if nothing else. So that gets us back above 21, which is useful. And we'll pass to our opponent. Explore, okay. Land. Through the Breach. Yeah, I'm not too sure I like this version of my opponent's deck because it's like, what does it do against aggro? Like, it just doesn't do anything? Wait, you just exiled Simian Spirit Guide for no reason? You can undo that. Oh, they don't have the second greens. Oh, wait, no, it doesn't matter. Okay, we'll play our land. We'll put our opponent on a 1-turn clock, so they have to have it next turn. Or have an answer. So they need to have something next turn. I don't think Through the Breach plus Primeval Titan, that may do it. But they would need Valakut. They would need, yeah, Valakut plus land, which isn't gonna... It's gonna kill our Frag Tusk, okay. Well, if we draw a Cycler off the top, we can kill the Primeval Titan. And if they don't block the Horror and we draw a Cycler, then we just win. Yeah, because we can cycle Archfiend, cycle Fairy Macabre, cycle the Cycler we draw off the top, and... Never mind, we're going to just draw Living End. Okay, so let's cast this Horror. We'll attack with Horror plus Beast. See how our opponent blocks. They're just not going to block? Do they have a Bolt in hand? Okay, well, we get to cycle this Fairy Macabre. And unless they have a Bolt in hand, that's just game. They had to block. There's at least a Beast token. Like, I think that's really badly played by my opponent. Unless they have a Beast in hand, Bolt in hand, in which case it's very well played by my opponent. Or not very well played, just normal. That was really bad play by my opponent. Really bad play. Like, just block the Beast token. Like, yeah. I don't get what they were trying to achieve there. Okay, well, GG's. I certainly didn't play that well. I don't think my opponent played it well either, so not a great showing of this deck in the first round because Neither player played that well, to be honest. I just happened to play slightly better than my opponent, but by no means did I play well. Okay, we will be here for round 2, and hopefully I play a little bit better this time. We are on the play? We are. Okay, what do we have? Not the best hand ever, by any stretch of the imagination. Could be a lot worse, though. It could be a lot worse. I'm going to take a risk and keep this. Fulminate Mage is a decent card. Fairy Macabre, you know, we have a payoff card in our hand. Wait, this is just too risky, right? If my opponent has any hand disruption, this hand just does nothing. We're looking to find cyclers, and if they have hand disruption, we also need to find cascade spells. We need to avoid our 15 lands in the deck, which is like a 1 in 4 chance every time we draw a card. Yeah, I think we can just do better on 6. Please don't punish me for that, Mulligan. And it hasn't. Oh, well, it's basically the same hands. Okay, we'll just keep. I should have kept on 7 if I... Yeah, but whatever. At least we get a turn 2 Fulminator Mage if we're playing against, like, Tron or something like that, I guess. Okay, we'll keep. We get a Scry. We'll put that to the top. That's a Cycler. We'll always keep a Cycler on top, I think. We'll just play our Verdant Catacombs out and pass the turn. We're not going to fetch, though. We want to keep... Well, it depends on what my opponent plays, I guess. Okay. Now I kind of really wish I would have kept that 7. Okay, we'll play that, and... Let's just pass to my opponent. I'm going to Simian Spirit Guide Fulminator Mage next turn. I want to see what they do, what they fetch with the Expedition map. I also want to know what my opponent's on, because we don't know if it's definitely Eldrazi Tron, Regular Tron, Mono Blue Tron. We don't know what it is. We're going to shock ourselves. Lifetale isn't... It's not irrelevant, but it's not massively relevant either. There's another land, that's good. So we have our Violent Outburst when we need it. If we find another land off the top next turn, then we can even cycle plus... Oh, I suppose we have a Simian Spirit Guide, don't we? So we're going to stop on our opponent's upkeep, and we're definitely taking a land from them. So the positive here is we get to see what they fetch with Expedition map. And it isn't Urza's Mine. So I think you just always take out the tower, right? So we'll take out the tower. The minimum we're going to do is keep them off of Tron next turn. And unless they have Graveyard Hate or a Chalice on 0, then we can Violent Outburst and take away another land from them. Chromatic Sphere, okay, fine. And my opponent's playing like all the old versions of Tron here. Sorry, they need a Chalice. And they find a Chromatic... Oh, they're just going to play another star, okay. So I feel like that's probably game for us now, because we're just going to have too much of a good graveyard going on. Yeah. Let's see what we draw off the top. Okay, so we get to cycle a horror. We'll do that now. There's a Street Wraith as well, we'll cycle that. So Blackcleave Cliffs, unfortunately it's going to come out tapped, so we're not going to get to play our second Horror of the Broken Lands. But what we shall do is... Do we even care about them having Tron now? Do we even care? I guess we do, so... Yeah, let's just find an Outburst. Just because they could have something like a Warping Whale or something like that if we let them untap. There we go. Let's just make sure we win the game. Like, our opponent's not going to have a board wipe on 2 lands when they're not even Tron lands, so... Well, they were Tron lands, but they weren't full Tron lands with Tron set up. So, what comes in this matchup? The Ingot Chewers definitely come in. The Shriekwalls definitely don't come in. Ricochet Trap isn't necessary. Avalanche Riders definitely come in. Colligan's Commands. Maybe the Thragtusks. We'll consider the Thragtusks for now. So out go the Fairy Macabres. They aren't that useful in this matchup. They don't really do much. I guess they're okay for Surgical Extraction purposes, but we'll see if our opponent has Surgical Extraction. The Archfiends aren't that necessary, so we'll go down a couple of those in favour of the Thragtusks. I guess actually they can fly over a Worm Coil engine if they do get Tron set up. I think 2's fine though. We're likely to find at least one of them. Right, so 3 more cards need to come out. Maybe a Demonic Dread can go. Probably go down 1 Desert Ceradon, and we probably don't need all of this. I think that'll do. Okay. Maybe we don't need the Thragtusks, I'm not sure. Like, just casting a 5 mana spell on turn 5 against Tron doesn't feel great. This is a mulligan, we have no lands. It's a shame because we have some decent stuff here that's going to help us in this matchup. Ingot Chewer, they're almost certainly going to have some kind of artifact-based hate for us, whether it be Chalice, whether it be a Relic of Progenitus or something like that. But, yeah, unfortunately, no lands, can't keep it. No lands again. Okay, that's the best we're going to have, I guess. It's actually not a bad 5, to be fair. We'll put that to the bottom. We can't cast that for quite a while. See what our opponent has. Expedition map, okay. We probably will Ingot Chewer that. It's probably worth the effort. Yeah, we'll Ingot Chewer the Expedition map. Yeah, we'll pass to our opponent. Chromatic Star, okay. Wow, that was our only land? Jeez, that's risky. Okay, we're going to get to double cycle here, and then we might be able to untap and cast Violent Outburst and take out another artifact. So hopefully, we're hoping to avoid Graveyard Hate here. Our opponent has Chromatic Star. I'm assuming they're going to try an Ancient Stirrings for a land here, so if we find a land off the top, they go for Relic. Okay, do they have the other land in hand? Did they draw one? Okay, so we need a land off the top right now. Come on, land, come on, land, come on, land. We found a land. Okay, we're looking pretty good. They're going to Surgical Extraction our Horror. Okay. Go ahead. I mean, I guess it's a scary card for them because it can end the game pretty quick, but they are not in a great position. There's another land. Not really what we want, but okay. Okay, Violent Outburst, over to you, opponent. Like, is there any reason to play this Violent Outburst now? I guess, again, Warping Whale is a consideration. Let's just cast it now. Let's just not mess around. While my opponent's tapped out, they could find land plus Warping Whale off the top. So we are presenting a 2-turn clock to my opponent. They need to find something, and that Relic of Progenitus is not going to get them anywhere. So this is I am not sure about keeping that hand from our opponent. That is... The game's not over. My opponent has 7 cards in hand. But yeah. So we took down Tron there. Like I say, Living End is pretty good against Tron if you hit your land destruction spells and they don't get an insane draw. But yeah, good games. Okay, we are back for round 3, and in this league so far I've been playing against a lot of people who have made some questionable decisions, and I have certainly not played perfectly, but my opponents have somehow played worse than me, and I have not played great. Although I think I played fine against Tron. I did what I could, and it just worked. But this hand... absolutely keepable. Turn 1 Cycler, turn 2 Cycler, turn 3 Fulminator Mage, very Macabre if we need it. Absolutely will keep this hand. And my opponent's on the play. Steam Vents, hopefully it's not anything we don't want to see. Oh, it's like Delver. I like it. Something a bit different. This is actually going to be quite a tough matchup because Delver it's got a lot of trickery, and they're going to have stuff like Mana Leak, and they're going to flip this and present a very quick clock. We don't even have the Cascade spell, much less the ability to cast it. Well, we have the ability to cast it, but I think you get my drift. Opponent's doing nothing. Okay. Well, let's give away the game plan. It's going to be a rough matchup. These are the kind of matchups Living End definitely does not want to see. Something that can end the game fast and can stop us doing stuff. Horrible matchup. Sure, let's just pass to our opponent, I guess. They probably have an opt or something they could do an end step. Also, the fact they didn't cast Serum Visions last turn leads me to believe that they have a counter spell in hand, so they're just waiting for their third mana before they actually Serum Visions. Oh, did they not have another land? Okay, we will... I guess we'll just cycle another horror. I guess... Yeah, let's cycle a horror, just in case we draw another 1 mana cycler off the top. We do not, but we do get a Violent Outburst. So here's the question. Do we just... Verdant Catacombs right here. Fulminator Mage away the Spire Bluff Canal. And then hope they don't draw a land off the top. I don't think there's any need to do that. I think we just go for the Living End right now, right? Unfortunately, we're going to have to... Oh, no! We have both our green sources in hand. Why isn't this deck playing an Overgrown Tomb? Ugh. Okay, so change of plan. Due to unforeseen circumstances, mainly me being a fucking idiot, we're going to cast this Fulminator Mage. And hopefully it's good enough. We'll just get rid of the Spy Bluff Canal, I guess. Okay, they had nothing to cast, so please don't find a land. Please don't find a land. Please don't find a land. Please don't find... They found a land! No! Oh, I just lost this game. We probably had won. Please use mana. Please use some mana. Okay. Oh, now we drew the living... Oh my god, this is going horribly. What is our game plan here? Do we just stop in their upkeep and beast within one of their lands and hope they don't draw a land again? I think that's probably... And then if they do find a land, we can always Fairy Macabre next turn. And just cast it. Okay, we'll stop in their upkeep so they can't attack with the beast this turn. And just hope they don't draw another land. Oh, wait. Turn off your... What are you doing? They're using Snapcaster. Deal! I'm going to get away with it. I'm actually going to get away with it. Somehow. Okay, never, ever, if anyone ever plays against Living End, when Living End has green mana up, do not tap your mana. Ever. Don't do it. Because then they have Violent Outburst. And now you're going to go down to 1 land, and you're going to have to deal with 2 4/4s. And you have nothing on board. Never, ever. Especially for, like, what's the point? Okay, you present a 2-turn clock instead? You must have Lightning Bolts. I don't know what's going on at the minute. I seem to be playing against people who don't know what they're doing. Yeah, never, ever tap out against Living End when they have green mana up. Ever. Even if it's just a green land. Like, they could have 2 Simian Spirit Guides and Violent Outburst. Just do not do it. Okay, so what are we bringing in? I think we have to kind of go a bit off the Living End plan. And try and... cycle still, but whilst also having some interaction earlier on in the game. So we're going to bring in the Ricochet Traps to try and resolve our Living Ends. Fairy Macabres are useful because of Snapcaster Mage. We're taking out the Desert Ceridons because they're going to be the hardest things to cycle and cast. Probably go down a Demonic Dread. We're keeping in the Fulminator Mages. We're not going to bring in the Avalanche Riders because that's a 4 mana spell that gets hit by a mana leak. Thrag Tusks are nice if you can resolve them, but at 5 mana, you run into a mana leak. Not great. We could probably consider them, but I think I'd rather just have Cyclers. We have got the Colligan's commands, but do we need the Ingot Chewers? Probably not. Like, probably not. I think we can down an Archfiend. And instead of an Archfiend, maybe we bring in an Ingot Chewer? No, it's probably not worth it. We don't know what their graveyard hate's going to be just yet. So we've still got 14 Cyclers, which is plenty. I think we can go down... One more card to go down. I think we're a bit less on our explosive draw here, so we can down a Simian Spirit Guide, and we'll just run that back. So again, I've played badly. My opponents are playing worse, which is, yeah, not a great example of this deck. I mean, I guess I'm playing well enough to win. Yeah, we're probably gonna mulligan this no-lander, right? You just don't keep no-landers, I hear, unless you're playing like Manaless Dredge, or maybe if we had like 4 Street Race, then I might consider it. But yeah, we're probably not going to keep this one. It's a shame because with 1 land it might be keepable. Just say this Demonic Dread was a land, like maybe a Blood Crypt, I would probably keep that. Because we have a turn 1 Cycler, then we've got our Shriekmaw. But we're going to mulligan this. Right, I think we're going to mulligan this as well. A, because it's got one of the 2 living ends in hand, but B, this hand just doesn't do enough. We could do a lot worse on 5, though. I think I'm just going to mulligan. Oh, for fuck, should have kept 6. Okay, let's go to 4. Okay, we'll put a Cycler on top. That might help us mulligan a little bit. So our opponent has nothing turn 1. That's a good start for us. Play our Blackleaf Cliffs, pass to our opponent. So hopefully, like with cycling and this Colligan's Command, we might be able to kind of get ourselves back in this game. Opponent's got an Opt or a Bolt or what? An Opt, okay. Yeah, I should have kept the 6, just because the living end in hand. I mean, the problem is that if you ever draw your second living end, that's it. We can't. Okay. We're going to be able to take that away next turn, so that's good for us. So, cycle the Monstrous Carabid. It's an Archfiend. However, we are just going to... Oh, maybe not. Let's see what our opponent does next turn. Hopefully they don't have a counter spell or something like that. Okay, well, now we don't really have a choice. So we're going to just go for the all-in. All-in on a singleton Monstrous Carabid. And we are certainly not in a good position right now. We can at least cycle Archfiend though. So at least we get rid of Young Pyromancer. Blood Moon's going to wreck us, obviously, but if we draw an untapped Black Source, we're okay. That is not an untapped Black Source. However, we can cycle it. Cycle with it. I would like to attack, please. Please let me attack. There we go. Okay, there's no reason to cycle this now. I probably should have cycled this before I played the land, just in case I did find an untapped Black Source. I could have played it this turn, but even if we do find an untapped Black Source, we wouldn't be able to use it anyway. So our opponent has nothing. Another land. Well, that's a pretty good draw, right? So our opponent got, like, Snapcaster Bolt. A Braid, okay. You're 2 for 1 yourself? Okay. Cool. So now we've essentially got into a situation where we have unmulliganed to a certain degree. Like, yeah, our opponent has more cards in hand than us, and they have the Blood Moon, but okay. It's a good top deck for our opponent. Maybe they didn't top deck... No, they must have top decked that. You'd have to be an idiot to not have played that Young Pyromancer last turn, just to, like, prevent 4 damage. Just play the Young Pyromancer and then take the 4 damage, untap, kill it. Ugh. Okay, well, pass our opponent. If we find an untapped Black Source, then we're in great shape, I think. But We've actually got to try and survive the game first. So I think on a mulligan to 4, this has gone okay. Frenzied Goblin. What the hell? I guess it's just a way of forcing through damage, but man, my opponent better hope to God we do not find an untapped black source. Luckily for them, we are drawing very dead. We brawl the Desert Ceradons as well, which is kind of annoying. Ah well, we'll see what happens. Yep, this creature can't block. Okay. We're going to take 4. Strioth, okay, I guess it's a free do-over. Monstrous Carabid, we can't actually cast it, that's annoying. Beast Within would have been nice earlier, when they actually played the Blood Moon. Snapcaster, okay, Snapcaster Opt, I assume. And then we're probably dead next turn. So I'm shocked we got as close as we did to winning this game. Like, we were just one top deck away from actually being able to win this game. On 4 versus 7 hand, with my opponent playing a turn 2 Blood Moon. If you think about it, the fact that we weren't just dead on turn 2 is a miracle. So what we got? Relic, nice top deck for our opponent, okay. Sure. Yeah, sure, why not? To be fair, it probably wasn't a top deck. They may have just found it with Opt. Did they put to the top? With Opt. Where was it? Whatever. Okay, so we can't block. Not that we were going to anyway. My opponent's not going to pay the mana. Reasonably wise. So we're down to 7. So we need to find something right now. And a Shriekmaw. Okay, well, we'll concede that game. So Blood Moon doing its job in Modern again, where it helps our opponent win a game where they were a bit fortunate. Maybe I'm being a bit harsh, actually. Well, since they're bringing in Blood Moons, we probably bring back in the Desert Ceradons and take out the Monstrous Carabids, because we can actually cast these. Avalanche Riders can probably come back in as well, if that's what they're going to be playing. And we could probably get down a Fairy Macabre and one other card. Guess. Is it completely unreasonable to go down a Fulminator Mage now that we're bringing in Avalanche Riders? No, because it's mono red. Like, we can cast it with red cards, so it's not just a dead card if our opponent finds a Blood Moon. Possibly down a Shriekmaw. We are actually. I thought we had more cyclers than this, but I've just realised there's a whole bunch of Shriekmaws in here. So we only have 14 cyclers. I still think that's fine, though. That'll do. Okay, we would like to play first, please. Okay, so we need to take into account our opponent has Blood Moon, and I think this is as good a hand as we're going to get, right? So this hand gets around Relic of Progenitus. So if they have Relic, then we're fine. Like, you're going to exile Shriekmaws away. Okay, cool. We have the fetch land. We've got our payoff card. So I think this is as good as we can hope for on 7 in this matchup. Alright, play our Verdant Catacombs, just in case there's somehow a turn 1 Blood Moon, which I doubt, but you never know. So we're going to really take our time on this Verdant Catacombs. We're going to wait for as long as possible until we crack it. Because we may just actually crack it and get a black source. I doubt they're playing Simian Spirit Guide into Blood Moon, so I think we could be... Oh, never mind. We found what we need anyway. So we'll get a black mana. We're going to wait on the Verdant Catacombs. I doubt they're going to play a turn 2 Blood Moon. They could do. And if they do, that's on me. But for now, I just want to kill this Delver. Get it gone. That's the turn 1 play gone. Now they are going to get to play with an untapped board, so there's no pressure on them. It's a Field of Ruin. Young Pyromancer. Okay, so we can again just follow up with a Shriekmaw plus hold up Verdant Catacombs. So great for us. Beast Within is a nice draw as well, so cast the Shriekmaw. Take out the Young Pyromancer. What's worth noting here as well is that we have not only our mana fixing sorted through Blood Moon, but we also have all of the lands that we need. We can cast everything in our library other than the Desert Ceradons. Another Young Pyromancer. Okay. So we're about to wreck our opponent's world, I think. We're not going to fetch. No need to fetch for us. Play Grove of the Burn Willows. And we're going to stop on my opponent's upkeep, or should we just Living End now? Is it completely unreasonable to Living End now? I think it's fine, right? I think that's what we're going to do. I think I'm going to fetch, and I'm going to get the green source now, just so we don't give them more life than we have to. If you know, we've got 2 Shriekmaws in our graveyard, so that presents a 3-turn clock. Giving them 2 life from this Grove of the Burn Willows presents a 4-turn clock. My opponent's struggling on lands as well, so they almost certainly have a counter spell in hand, so I think I'd rather just get this Living End done. They don't get back their stuff because we have the 2 Shriekmaws, so we're putting 6 power into play. And if they have bolts and stuff like that, that's fine. We can deal with bolts. There's an untapped blue source for our opponent. Okay, so we're not really doing anything this turn, so let's just get in. Gonna abrade one of our Shriekmaws. Okay, that's fine. We'll get in for 3. We could have possibly Beast Within that Shriekmaw there to get another 3/3 out of the deal. Maybe that was worth it. Maybe that might have been worth it. I'm not sure. Well, this smells like a relic for our opponent if they're tapping this Field of Ruin. Oh, they're just going to take out our land. Okay, fine. We will just go and get a swamp. I'm not too sure about doing that main phase, but okay. Don't really know what that achieved, but sure. A Pithing Needle. Sure. What, are you going to name a fetch land? A Pithing Needle. Oh, Fulminate. Okay, that makes sense. I apologise. That makes sense. Yeah, I'm fair play to my opponent. That is, yeah, absolutely. I agree with that. Violent Outburst. Okay. So we will just get in for 3. It'd be really nice if my opponent would play in a Braid, because then we could redirect it to the Pithing Needle. That would be nice. Another land. We'll play that. Comes out tapped. We're getting quite mana flooded. So it would be nice to actually find something. Bolt. Can we just let this go? I think we could just let this go, right? And then we can just Violent Outburst, knowing that we've got backup Ricochet Trap. Sure. I mean, we could redirect it to them, but then it could have another... I think I'd rather just get 6 more power onto the board, take away the Young Pyromancers, give them the Delver. Okay, let that resolve. We'll give them a life, unfortunately. And it may result in 2 extra life for them. But we're going to be able to cast our Ricochet Trap. Okay, take away the Young Pyromancer, take away the Young Pyromancer. And we're kind of okay with this because, yeah, it turns off our living ends, but it means our opponent has a lot of dead top decks now. Well, not a lot, but like all of their graveyard hate does nothing against us now. And they are going to draw lands eventually. They can't just keep not drawing lands. See if they're going to flip the Delver. They find a Bolt. Okay, that's good for them. They found what they needed. Opponent's going to get in for 3. Okay. They're going to try and present a clock. Be nice if you could actually top deck a creature. We've been very, very mana flooded. So like 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 lands. There's only 9 lands left out of 42 in our deck. Probably not the draw we wanted right now. Okay, let's get in for 6. I mean, to be honest, I think I'd actually rather just attack with the Fulminator Mage anyway. I mean, it means we can't activate it, but we sure as hell can attack with it. And if we want to, we can just Beast within the Pithing Needle. Okay, so we will cast Fulminator Mage. We can't activate it. We do have our Beast within, though, which is worth noting. Are they going to bolt a Shriekmaw? The dream situation here is they abrade the Shriekmaw. Oh, no, because we won't have the 4th mana up now to hard cast Ricochet Trap. We won't get it for the value. They're going to bolt us. Okay. They find a land. They're going to fetch with the land. Yep, they're going to get in for 6. Is it worth it here to try and Beast within the Pithing Needle? Beast within the Pithing Needle, Fulminator Mage away the Steam Vents, and then we have Lethal on board. I think that's... Is that the play? This is a close game. I mean, it's up to our opponent to have something, but I mean, they're going to have the... They're definitely going to have Cryptic Command here, right? They must have Cryptic Command. There's no way that they... And they still have Lightning Bolt in hand. Oh, they cast Lightning Bolt, so they could have a Snapcaster Mage plus Bolt. I think we're just going to let it go for now. Desert Ceradon. Okay, this is something we can cast if everything goes wrong. So let's see what our opponent has. I'm expecting a Cryptic. Cryptic. Tap all creatures target opponent controls. Draw a card. Okay. Yep, our creatures are tapped. We can't Ricochet Trap that because it doesn't target a player. It says opponent. And we can't target another opponent. See, I want to cast this Desert Celadon, but at the same time, it doesn't really achieve anything, right? Our opponent can bolt, snap, bolt, getting with the Insectile Aberration. So I think I'm just going to let it go for now, and we're going to cycle maybe next turn. We're going to probably cycle the Desert Celadon during my opponent's turn if we have to. Serum Visions, okay. They bottom top, they're going to opt, okay. So they're not going to be able to tap all of our creatures next turn. Am I waiting too long on this Beast Within? We can't cast it now because if they have a Bolt, then we're in trouble. Although I guess Bolt doesn't actually do anything against us now. They've only got one potential Bolt left as well. Let's cycle this Desert Celadon. I don't want to give them any life, so we're not going to use the Grove the Burn Willows. There's a Fairy Macabre, so that gets around Snapcaster Mage, although Snapcaster Mage isn't going to be a problem, I don't think. I don't see what they can have to get themselves out of this. I don't... Just because we have this Ricochet Trap, I don't see how they can survive this turn. Okay, let's just get in. Okay, a Braid. We will target that. And we will... Wait, why can't... Oh, it's dealing 3 damage. Okay, we'll redirect to the Insectile Aberration. Get 2 for one opponent. I think that's just game. Get wrecked. Really? 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 Wow. Okay, we won the match. Okay, my opponent conceded. So, those of you who don't know, this is the MTGO bug where it randomly just loses. MTGO, because it's such an old and, let's be honest, it's quite a crap platform, a crap program. It can sometimes just lose itself. It can't keep track of where cards, what cards do what, and with unique things that are a bit weird, like a Braid and a Ricochet Trap redirecting the Braid to another creature, and it's quite. Think of it as like an old man with a walking stick trying bungee jumping. It's just like maybe about 30 years ago, that old man with the walking stick would have been fine bungee jumping. But now, because he's quite outdated, just like MTGO is, it can't keep up, and it can't keep up with these active, all the different changes and what have you. So what happens is it cycles all the way through. So it fast forwards, it loses itself. It doesn't know what it just restarts the game to try and figure it out again. And it gets back to the point where you were, and then if it can't figure it out when it goes for a rerun, so when it runs through the entire game again in fast forward like you saw there, if it can't figure it out by the time it gets to the end of that fast forward, it restarts the game. So why I was like kind of screaming and saying really there is because what used to happen is that it never fixed itself and you just restarted the game. So that game was won for us. Unless my opponent had something completely obscure for 0 mana that I just wasn't thinking of, that game was over. So luckily our opponent is a decent guy and just conceded the game because they knew the game was over. So props to my opponent. They didn't have to do that. They could just restart the game. They knew they were dead, and they're not complete dicks. This is one of the things that happens on MTGO and just would not happen in paper. But anyway, we're 3-0 with the deck. So yeah, we'll go again. Okay, everybody, we're back for another game of Living End in our league. So we're currently 3-0, so the minimum we're going to have is 80 play points and a treasure chest, which means that we're net positive. Now it's just a matter of, the kids are definitely going to get fed, it's just whether they're going to get fed gruel with 1 treasure chest, whether they're going to get fed with a McDonald's with 4 treasure chests or steak with 8 treasure chests. So basically, we're just playing for... We're definitely going to eat. It's just a matter of how good we're going to eat now. So we'll run the dice roll. We're going to play first, and this is a very keepable hand, right? We've got Cyclers. We've got a turn 2 Simian Spirit Guide, turn 3 maybe. And yeah, this is definitely a keepable hand. Most importantly about this hand, it doesn't have a Cascade spell in it, which I actually like. The only times I like, there are only certain decks where I want to have Cascade spells in my opening hand against. Stuff like Bogles, I want to have a Violent Outburst in my opening hand because they're not going to have a hand disruption. But against certain decks, you just don't want to have it in your opening hand. Like Jund or something like that. This is really stupid by me. Not necessarily stupid actually, because there's nothing else I could have done, but another Desert Ceradon, that sucks. So we're not going to be able to cycle these creatures for quite a while unless we draw a red source. Come on, red source. It's not a red source. Well, let's cycle the Monstrous Carabid now. Just in case we do hit a red land, and we'll play that for the turn instead. Another Street Wraith. Okay, that's a free redraw. Oh my god. Deck, why'd you do this to me? Okay. This is why I usually like... Jundillions' version of the deck, he plays 4 Desert Ceradons. I personally usually go for 2 or 3. Looks like we're against one of a blue-red deck. That sucks. Lightning Bolt. Oh my god. We're we're in trouble. We're in trouble. So it looks like Teema. Teema something. Goyf. Just Teema stuff. Okay. Well, there's any justice in the world, we will find either a red source or, more ideally, a Demonic Dread right here. Oh, come on. Really? Okay. We're probably dead. We're probably dead. This is the problem with this deck, and specifically on MTGO, because it tends to not happen as much in... Okay, it's a land. Now we just need a Cascade spell. Any Cascade spell will do it. The only problem is that was our turn where our opponent's going to be tapped out, and they never have to tap their lands again. They can just win with a Tarmogoyf. Okay, well, let's give them a life to cycle. And this is why I think... See, here's the Cascade spell. Problem is, it doesn't matter. We've got 2 living ends in our deck. 2 living ends in our deck, and we're playing against a deck that doesn't have to tap their blue mana anymore. Hence why I think 2 living ends is really bad. Hopefully our opponent taps the mana here. Please tap your mana. Please tap your mana. Please tap your mana. Oh, you fool. We're going to get everything off of them here. So, this is where Living End is a really good deck. And you can win a lot with Living End because my opponent just fucked up. Most people don't know to do this, but Snapcaster Mage, you will target Lightning Bolt. Very Macabre is a nice bonus that we shouldn't have really had. So you don't get the Lightning Bolt. Now we're going to end step, on our end step, Violent Outburst. Now our opponent could have a 1 mana counter, like maybe a spell snare, or what's the one that where we have to pay 2 extra mana? They could have that, and in that case maybe I made a fuck up here. Spell Pierce, that's the one. Oh, Dismember. Oh, okay. Dismember is fine, my friend. You can have Dismember. Deal 4 damage to get yourself a 3/4. That made a massive difference to this board, matey. Massive difference. The reason I may have fucked up there myself, although I still think that is the right play to make, is to stop the Lightning Bolt, is because they would have tapped for Lightning Bolt. We would have gone down to 7, then we can Violent Outburst. They could have had a Spell Pierce, which meant we wouldn't have been able to Living End. So, yeah, we're going to be able to chump block for days. And we just win. Okay. Nice to know that my opponent had a Dismember in hand. So the Shriek Maws can come in. They have Teema stuff. And I guess we consider the Thragtusks. I'm assuming that the Graveyard Hate is going to be artifact-based. Also worth noting they could bring in Scavenging Oozes as well, so Shriek Maws very good against that. Now they are blue-red, so... Oh no, they are Teema, so they might not play Moon. Excuse me, they might not be playing Moon, but they probably are playing Blood Moon. So I think we consider leaving in some amount of Desert Ceradons and instead get rid of the Monstrous Carabids, which are probably worse in this matchup anyway because they have to attack. Maybe just leave in something like that. Go down to 2 Desert Pterodons, 2 Thragtusks. Frame Macabres are good in this matchup. Fulminator Mages are okay. Demonic Dreads, Violent Outbursts. Oh, Ricochet Traps, they have to come in, of course. Probably go down a Demonic Dread. We're a bit less cycly, so I might go down a Simian Spirit Guide. We're not looking for a nut draw or anything like that. Okay, we'll just go with this. And this is a very, very good hand. We will keep this for sure. The danger here is if our opponent has Blood Moon, then we're in a bit of trouble. Scratch that, we're in a lot of trouble. Because we don't have any way of getting basics. Street Wraith. Do I cycle this or not? I think the only benefit of cycling Street Wraith here is that we might hit an untapped fetch. We might hit a fetch land. Bolt from our opponent. Okay. So looks like they're on the aggro strategy. Yeah, the only benefit of cycling Street Wraith here is that we might be able to get a fetch land. So if they get somehow a turn 2 Blood Moon, then we have a way of getting around that. But I think that's just too much. Well, Fulminator Mage is good. Play our Blackcleave Cliffs and pass to our opponent. Okay. That was a mistake actually. I should have played Blooming Marsh because then in response to our opponent's not going to Blood Moon now, but in response to a Blood Moon, we could have exiled Simian Spirit Guide, Beast Within the Blood Moon when it resolves, and we could float the green mana. I think our opponent would be insane if they Blood Moon now. Have anything else? Not by the look of it. Okay. Now they possibly could Blood Moon. Yeah, now they possibly could Blood Moon just because they've got the Hierarch. So we'll see how this goes. They could also have something else. Oh, just going to get in for 1? No. Okay, so we're going to cycle this Street Wraith, see if we can find something to cycle. A Blood Crypt isn't bad. So if we play the Blood Crypt untap now, we're going to 13. And then we can try and maybe Violent Outburst next turn. Our opponent could be playing the... Sorry, I was going to say... The elf, the Bloodbraid elf. So I think I like here going Shock... and cast the Shriekmaw. See if our opponent wants to counter it. They do not. Okay, so we get rid of the Noble Hierarch. So that makes Blood Moon a lot less likely. Okay, they're going to tap for blue. We're not going to do anything, so if you have blue mana you want to use, opponent, go ahead. Abounding Krasis. What would it like to do? Oh, it's like a combo deck. Okay. So how are we playing this? Do we just go for the Shriekmaw again? Or do we just hold up Violent Outburst for the next combo piece? I'm assuming it's like Kiki Jiki or something like that. And if they tap out for Kiki Jiki next turn, that's fine. Oh, now we're just going to Violent Outburst. Oh, they never learn. They never learn. Do not tap out. If they have a Spell Pierce, so be it. But there's no way we're not taking this opportunity. But just do not tap out against Living End unless you know you have like a counterspell in hand as well. Like, just don't tap. Leave 2 lands untapped. Like, the opt was not necessary there. Like, what does that do for them? Even if they end up winning this game, that was such bad play. Just don't tap out against Living End. Or keep 2 lands untapped. The only time you should be doing it is if you can't do anything if I have Living End anyway. So, yeah. And now we've got a Shriekmaw for this guy. And we've got a Thrag Tusk for later on. What are we doing here? Sure, let's just evoke another Shriekmaw. See if our opponent has anything. I mean, the problem our opponent has here is that even if they have a counterspell here, we can still attack with Shriekmaw. Oh, a counterspell? Remand? I mean, I guess they may as well do that, right? I mean, they know we can replay it, but they need to draw a card. They need to get themselves out of this situation. I agree with that from my opponent. That is the only counterspell you have. At least we have to use our mana, so it makes sense. So you are on a 1-turn clock opponent. You need to get rid of at least 2 of our creatures. One of them has to be Horror of the Broken Lands. What have you got? You got 4 cards and potentially 5 lands to deal with. Opt, okay, I feel less good about your chances right now. Opt means that Cryptic Command is not an out for you, because you needed untap blue source plus Cryptic Command to buy a turn. Okay, there's a land. So I guess something like Snapcaster Bolt would be good enough. Street Wraith. Okay. Do we... I think I'm just going to attack. See what my opponent does. I could cycle Street Wraith, and I'm probably going to cycle Street Wraith regardless. So Snapcaster, so they're going to block, and yep, cast. They're going to have Lightning Bolt. Take out the Shriekmaw, I assume. Okay. I'm doing nothing. It's all on you, buddy. Yep, so they're going to go down to just 1. So the Scalding Tarn is now essentially a dead land. Okay, we'll let that go through. And we will cycle our... See if we can hit land. That's a bit late. Oh, I should have cycled the Ferry Macabre in response. Bad plays by me. Bad plays by me. Okay, we'll play the Fulminator Mage. Pass to our opponent. No need for us to do anything. No need to take out a land right now. My opponent has to deal with the board. If they have another blue source, I will... They don't. If they played another, like, say, an island, then I would have Fulminator Mage to take out one of these blue sources so they can't have Cryptic Command. But yes, my opponent just let us win that game. There was no need for them to play like end-stepped opts or anything like that. If your opponent has an untapped green source, even if that's all they have, just one untapped green source, they could have double Simian Spirit Guide plus Violent Outburst. Don't ever tap out against them unless... Like, if you're playing blue, this is, but yeah, you should never tap out against Living End if they have an untapped land. So we're on 4-0, so at the minute the kids are eating McDonald's. We're going for this 5-0 next round, and hopefully the kids can eat a nice big fat steak, which is very nutritious, I'm sure. Okay, we're back for the final round of this Living End League, where it's gone pretty well. We've been very reliant on our opponents playing badly, which is not really where you want to be, but still. Yeah, we win this one, we get everything. We're currently 4-0, so we're going with the 5-0. Currently, the kids are eating McDonald's, but today we're going for the, or in this game we're going for the 5-0, which means they'll be eating steak. We get all the treasure chests, all the play points. But we're guaranteed at least 4 treasure chests and 80 play points. This hand is close. I think we can keep it, but it's not exciting in the slightest. If our Monstrous Carabid draws us into the wrong card, then we could be in quite a bit of trouble. But I think we can keep this. It could be a lot worse. We could definitely cast either our Demonic Dreader or our Violent Outburst. So I think, yeah, we should play the Verdant Catacombs. Unfortunately, we're going to have to fetch this turn and shock ourselves. Yeah, this is not going to be the quickest hand ever by the look of it, and we definitely did not want to see red, and we definitely did not want to see goblins. Okay, sure. I guess at least this way we know we're going to be able to, at the right time, we're going to be able to Violent Outburst. The only time we weren't able to Violent Outburst is turn 1. There's another Simian Spirit Guide. This is what I mean. It's not a great draw. Okay, there's an Archfiend, so at least we can maybe. Hopefully our opponent doesn't have an insane draw, and we're going to be able to cast Archfiend or cycle Archfiend, and then we should be in a damn good position. Goblin Guide, okay, not ideal, but sure. So our opponent's going to get in for 5 here, but then that should be the last of their damage. Unless they have like what is it called? Violent Outburst. So we've got a Violent Outburst in hand. Well, let's just cycle and draw that. They have a Goblin Grenade. Then that could be a problem. But I think we're just going to have to try and play around the Goblin Grenade to a certain degree. Oh, God. Well, yeah, we're just going to go to my opponent's turn, and we're definitely going to be casting Violent Outburst this turn. No doubt about that. Look at this as a matchup where drawing 1 copy of the Living End isn't the end of the world. It's not great because now we're all in on 2 creatures, but yeah, we're just going to Violent Outburst now. We're doing it now because we could try and catch something after combat. But they could also have a Goblin Grenade after combat, so we can't take the risk. And they've still got 5 cards in hand, so. But rebuilding against us, because of the Archfiend, it doesn't really matter because we can just Fairy Macabre and wipe their board. So we're not too bothered about them rebuilding to a certain degree. So we are kind of all in on these 2 creatures. It does present kind of a 2-turn clock. So let's see what else our opponent has. Mog Fanatic, okay. So our opponent's not doing anything. Another. Oh my god. This has been a horrible draw. We're attacking, no doubt about that. This has been one of the worst draws I've had with this deck. Okay, so our opponent's down to 11. We are going to have lethal next turn. So they're going to bolt us. Okay. So they're just going for the win with bolts plan. It could work. It could work. There's potentially the option that I should have cycled Fairy Macabre there on end step so they can't Goblin Grenade with just 1 Mog Fanatic. But the chances of them having exactly with their last 3 cards, they would need exactly Goblin Grenade plus 2 Lightning Bolts. Or I guess if they attack here, okay, we're just going to Fairy Macabre. Get rid of the, I guess the Goblin Guide and the Foundry Street Denizen. So Mog Fanatic will deal 1 damage to us, no doubt. But now they need a creature plus to use their Goblin Grenades. They're going to deal 1 damage to us, sure. so they don't get a counterpart on their creatures. So not the best value ever there from our Fairy Macabre. Goblin Bushwhacker, okay, if that's the last card, then we just win. Okay. That is lethal, right? Okay, the land doesn't actually do much for us here. We'll see if our opponent's going to block. Fortunately, we didn't find a cycler there. Okay, well that's definitely just game now. Yeah, they had to block. I can understand why they didn't block. There's no need for them to. So we got a bit lucky there. So in come the Shriekmaws, and probably got out one Archfiend, and maybe a couple of Desert Ceradons. Colligon's commands can come in. Frag Tusks. We don't want to play too many of these because they can be dead in our hand, but if we can top deck them later on in the game and actually cast them, then gaining 5 life is huge. So we're 1 win away from taking this league down in a 5-0. Obviously, the Fulminator Mages are dead cards because they have basic mountains, so that's an easy takeout. Don't think we need all the Fairy Macabres as well, so maybe we do just bring in the Cyclers just so we can definitely actually cycle into stuff. Maybe we should go down. Maybe we do just go with the 2 Desert Ceradons and 3 Thrag Tusks. No, that doesn't seem right. That doesn't seem right at all. 2 Frag Tusks is enough. We only need to hit 1. We don't want to hit more than 1 because, I mean, if 1 hits, we're probably going to win anyway. Yeah, this hand is. This is so close to keepable. This is a risk. This is a very big risk if we keep this. But Shriekmaws against mono creatures is good. Plus, we have a Violent Outburst, so. My opponent's on 6. This is very risky. I openly admit this is very, very, very risky, but we're going to mulligan. Yeah, I convinced myself at the last second there. Just mulligan it. We had no cyclers to make sure that we hit our second land, so that's risky. We might mulligan this hand as well. Because of the living end, the hand is. I mean, Street Wraith isn't that good against this deck as well because it's not like we're playing against Burn where we just can't let our life total go below like 10. Against Goblins, once you get the board under control, as we saw last game, they struggle. My opponent has mulliganed as well. I think I'm going to keep just because my opponent mulliganed, because we have this Colligan's Command for a potential 2-for-1. And we have the lands to actually cast it. Archfiend, we will put that on the bottom. I think we can do better than that. Our opponent's also on the play, so Legion Loyalist. Okay. Violent Outburst. At least we have a payoff card. That's something. It's a start. Okay, let my opponent take their turn. Towards Crypt. That's going to be fine. That's going to be absolutely fine. Another Legion Loyalist. So we're definitely going to get a good 2-for-1 here. So we're going to try and keep our life total as healthy as possible. We're not going to cycle with the Street Wraith. We're just going to fetch. And we're not going to shock ourselves. Our opponent's had a very, very... Well, it seems like a reasonably weak start, to be honest. That's 2 cards in hand already. Blackcleave Cliffs. Okay, that's fine. Okay, we'll just play Blackcleave Cliffs past our opponent. Yeah, they're just getting it for 2. Looks like... Do they have like just mono 1-drops in hand? Or 2-drops, sorry, should I say? Yeah, looks like they do. Again, still, we're not going to cycle or anything right now. There's no need to. There's a horror. Okay, so we're going to get to do quite a lot next turn. And this game might be won now. Depends what our opponent's last cards are. Bolt us, okay. So we take 2, go down to 9. Our opponent's got 1 card in hand. Let's assume one of those is Goblin Grenade. It's going to fetch right now, because we're definitely fetching this turn, we know that much. Get a Swamp. Is it completely unreasonable? Maybe it is. I was going to say, is it completely unreasonable to just Violent Outburst right here? And we can cycle the Street Wraith. So then if our opponent doesn't crack their Tormod's Crypt, we're going to have a 3/4 back. We're taking 2 damage anyway. The only problem there is that we're all in on hard casting our creatures. So maybe that's just bad. And then our Colligan's Command can get the Tormod's Crypt if they don't crack it. I think I prefer that, because if my opponent has a Goblin Grenade in hand, then we're in a bit of trouble. I think this is the best route. I think this is the right plan here. And a second Colligan's Command, so now it feels really good. Yeah, let's just... I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. This isn't the best living end ever. This is quite a defensive living end. But we're making our opponent get rid of that Tormod's Crypt. If they don't get rid of it now, we get the Street Wraith back. If they do get rid of it now, we get something even better off of our Colligan's Command. So we only get a 3/4 back, but that's something that can block. That's the most important thing. It can block. And we've got backup Colligan's Commands. There's another land. So we're going to play our Blood Crypt tapped. I'm not going to attack. I'm not going to attack. Yeah, I don't see a reason to. Another land for our opponent. Okay. Now we're going to Colligan's Command and destroy the artifact now and get a card out of their hand. We have nothing of relevance in our graveyard, so that Tormod's Crypt has done nothing. My opponent's down to 1 card in hand. Okay, yeah, they may as well, I guess. Why not? We'll make them discard their card still. And they were hoping for... Okay, they got Reckless Bushwhacker, so there must be something reasonably good in their hand. Grove of the Burnwillows. Okay, well, now I'm going to attack with Street Wraith. I'm going to try and put a clock on my opponent. And I don't see my opponent killing us next turn. Put down this Horror. And then after this turn, assuming we can block with this Horror, which I don't see being a problem, we're going to be able to Colligan's Command to get the last 2 cards. That's a good draw for our opponent. That's a very good draw. A Monstrous Carabid. Okay, well, let's attack. Depending on what my opponent does here, we'll see what we do after combat. They are going to block with the 1/1. Okay, so they're not going to use their... I think it may have been worth taking the damage there for my opponent and just paying the upkeep cost. I guess they're presenting 4 damage, so yeah, why not? Let's... Seems really risky actually, because we could run into a hasty creature. I think I'm just going to cast the Monstrous Carabid. And then we'll have the Colligan's Command for next turn. I was contemplating just holding that back, but I just want to make sure we can actually block something this turn. And then if my opponent does go all in, I doubt they can kill us this turn. I doubt it. It could happen. They're not. Okay, they don't have anything. It's a Street Wraith. Unfortunately, that's not going to help us. I don't really want to be cycling this at all. Opponent's taking that damage. They are taking the damage. Do we have lethal here? I don't think we quite have lethal, right? So what we could do is cycle the Street Wraith, go down to 6, but if they have double bolt, we're just dead. So we can cycle Street Wraith, go down to 6, play Golligan's Command, make them discard a card, return the Street Wraith, and this whole time Monstrous Carabid will get up to 8 power, which will be exactly lethal, because 2 from Golligan's Command, 12 damage on the field. If they have double bolt, we just die. We do have lethal next turn as well. A single bolt wouldn't do it, even with all these Street Wraiths. I think I'm going to go for it. This could be a bad move. We do have lethal next turn, but I'll give my opponent top decks. Okay, let's cycle a Street Wraith, see what happens. See if our opponent has the double bolt. If they have it, they have it. I think that is the exact combination they need, because Goblin Grenade is sorcery speed. And they would have cast Goblin Grenade last turn anyway. Okay, we can cycle this. We might even have to use our Colligan's Command. Okay, I'm going to let damage go through, then I'm going to Colligan's Command. Yeah, deal 2 damage to them and make them discard a card. Did we get there? Do they have it? They have bolt number 1. And we won. Sweet! Oh, that feels so good. So, yeah. 8 treasure chests, 80 play points. Thank you very much. The kids are going to eat well tonight. So, I will go to a wrap-up for this deck. Hello, everybody. It's Dan back from our Living End League. So, as we can see here, we went 5-0. We went 10-2 in games. I don't know if it's we went that well because our opponents just played pretty bad. It's not to say that I played well, but our opponents were making quite a few mistakes, which you just shouldn't do against Living End. Like, against Living End, if your opponent has an untapped green source at any point during the game, you just do not tap all of your mana. You just don't do it. Especially if you're playing blue, because blue's very reliant on keeping its counter spells up. So I'm not too sure that my opponent's playing bad. I mean, we saw a couple of times in the league by the same opponent in one round as well, where they did it twice, where they tapped out and we had the Violent Outburst and we just won the game because they apparently needed to tap out on our end step to cast Opt for no apparent reason. So yeah, that's the biggest piece of advice I'll go for anybody who watched this going forward, is that if your opponent has an untapped green source and they're playing Living End, you've identified it, do not tap your blue mana. You need to hold up a counter spell. Because as long as you've got counter spells up, your opponent can't safely Living End. But I mean, I didn't play that well, like I said, so maybe it kind of evened out. I played pretty bad, my opponents played pretty bad. Maybe it was just the deck being built so well by Jundillion that kind of got us over the line and got us to that 5-0 win. As for changes I would make with the deck, there aren't many. In fact, I'll probably just talk about the things I really liked first. So, first, I really like the 4 Fairy Macabres and the 4 Avalanche Riders, or sorry, the Archfiend of Ifnir, sorry. There's nice synergy there. Archfiend, yes, it's a little bit clunky. I could maybe listen to going down to just 3 of them over 4, but I was quite happy with 4. It's only bad in aggro matchups or decks that end the game fast, like Storm and Burn and those kind of things, where I think the third and fourth copy just aren't needed. We probably sideboard 2 of them out. I love the Fairy Macabres. I like the fact that our sideboard is now extremely streamlined. We know exactly what we need for specific matchups because we've put our Graveyard Hate into the main, and it synergizes with Horror and Archfiend of Ifnir. And it's quite an easy card to sideboard out if it's not relevant. Say we're playing against like Tron, well, we don't really need Fairy Macabre against Tron. Other than that, very happy with the deck. There are a couple of changes I would make to the main though. As I'm sure I said way too much, I don't like having just 2 living ends. I think it's just too risky. You're all in on... well, if you draw 1 living end, you're all in on your second copy of living end, so I just don't like that. So I would definitely bring back in the 3rd copy of living end, and I would make 1 of 3 cards to go out. So Fairy Macabre could be one that you take out, but I just like the fact that we've got 4 Fairy Macabres, synergize really well with our deck. That's our Graveyard Hate. I like that in the deck. I think that's fine. Demonic Dread could be another one worth considering taking out, but I just don't like the fact that that's 1 less Cascade spell we're just not drawing. Some decks even play 4 copies of Demonic Dread. Quite a few do actually, so I think I don't like taking out the 3rd Demonic Dread, because then we're down to just 6 Cascade spells, and at that point we may as well just have 2 living ends anyway, because we're kind of again all in our Cascade spells. I think we can take out a Desert Celadon in place of a living end though. So if you think about it, if I take this Desert Celadon out, we're down to 19 cyclers. The difference between 19 and 20 cyclers is minuscule. Whereas going from 2 to 3 living ends completely changes how you can approach a game. So I could just chuck out a Violent Outburst there if my opponent has a counter spell. So what? We've still got 2 living ends left. Well, I can't really do that with 2 living ends, because if they have the counter spell, then I'm down to just 1 living end left. Whereas going from 19 to 20 or 20 to 19 cyclers and getting rid of the hardest card to cycle as well, because we need exactly red mana for Desert Celadon, whereas we can have black or colorless for everything else. I think that's fine. The only other change I would make in the main is I'm not happy about having the Blooming Marsh here. I would bring in the Overgrown Tomb. There was a game in this league where it was relevant that we didn't have an Overgrown Tomb. Now, it was stupidity by me because I had the Forest and the Stomping Ground in my hand, and I needed the green source for the Violent Outburst. So it was bad play by me, but also it was a case of the Overgrown Tomb just should be in the deck. There's no need to have a second copy of Blooming Marsh. It's not that essential. And if you think about it as well, let's just say we get past turn 3 and we need to top deck a green source to cast our Violent Outburst. Well, what happens if we run to like turn 5 and we've got 3 lands out and we top deck a Blooming Marsh? That means we've got to wait another turn to Violent Outburst. So I just think Overgrown Tomb is better for several reasons. As for the sideboard, I would make a couple of quick changes here. The first would be Avalanche Riders, Blood Moons. I think just Blood Moons are better. If you think about it, Avalanche Riders will bring it against Tron, Scape Shift maybe, although I don't think Avalanche Riders is that good against them. And we're casting it on turn 4, so let's just say we're against Tron. We're casting Avalanche Riders on turn 4. They've had enough time to set up Tron, so I just think that just play a Blood Moon. Like Blood Moon, okay, Blood Moon is worse if we give them time to react to it and they can start just playing a whole bunch of lands, but it buys us time as well, and that's exactly what we need. If we can slow Tron down a little bit, we can fill our graveyard, we can react to whatever they're playing, we can end the game out of nowhere. So yeah, Blood Moon's in here. I don't actually own any, so I can't just bring them in. The other changes I would make are, well, twofold. I would take out 1 Shriekmaw. I think 3 is fine. 3 is fine, I think. He's really good against Scavenging Ooze and Tarmogoyf though, which I start to see a lot more play in the format. But I think we're still fine with 3 of them. And instead, I would do one of 2 things. I would either bring in a 3rd copy of Ingot Chewer, but I think with 2 Ingot Chewers already and 2 Colligan's Command, I think we've got enough Artifact Hate there. Instead, I would probably bring in a Brindlebore. and then I'll take out another Thragtusk and bring in another copy of Brindlebore. The reason being is because our burn matchup isn't great anyway, and Thragtusk isn't a clean answer in burn. Sure, it's great if you can resolve it and gain 5 life against burn, you've pretty much won the game, but it's a 5 mana spell against burn, and that is our sideboard answer. They're over the moon about that if that's our sideboard answer, is Thragtusk. Because we're waiting until turn 5 to cast it, we may not even gain the life if they have a Skullcrack. So I think Brindlebore is just a lot better, just something better to play in the early game. I could be convinced to just go bring in the one Brindlebore instead bring in the Shriek. Right, I can see an argument for that. But those are the changes I would make with the deck. So 2 Blood Moons over the Avalanche Riders, and then either 1 Shriekmaw out for a Brindlebore, and then a second Brindlebore for the Thragtusk, or we just keep all the Shriekmaws in and just 1 Thragtusk for the Brindlebore. I think I just explained that horribly, but we'll go with it. So anyway, I hope everybody enjoyed the games. I enjoyed playing the deck. I think it was really fun, and I will definitely be playing something like this again in the future, or very close to this build. So thanks for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. Take care of yourself. Goodbye.